Hi everyone. I just want to address the elephant of this in the room before you proceed to watching this episode. Yes, I have a piece of lettuce in my front tooth. No, I did not see it before I pressed record because this time around I was like, you know what? I don't care what I look like. I'm just going to press record, and I did not even check the mirror. And that ended up being a very astronomical mistake. And I really liked the episode. That's why I ended up not re recording it because I was like, I cannot recreate it. It's just going to sound forced. So I feel like you deserve to see this authenticity, even it comes at the price of you seeing me with food in my teeth, which is something I am always terrified of. And if you ever see me in real life and I have food in my teeth, please do let me know. I will let you know. I'll never let you walk around with food in your teeth and embarrass yourself. But I apparently now am about to expose myself with in that situation for the whole internet to see. So if this is the first episode y'all make viral, I'll be a bit pissed. But do your job, I guess. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please try to look past the letters. I end up apparently speaking a lot with my lower teeth, so you don't see it a lot throughout the episode. But if you are really bothered by it, close your eyes. With that being said, enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having an amazing day. I am very excited about today's episode, but I honestly don't know where to even begin because I talked to you. What is it today? Today is Wednesday. I talked to you exactly a week ago. And in that 1 week since I last talked to you, Jesus Christ, I lived 7 lives. So much things happened in such a short amount of time that I don't know where to start with telling you everything that I want to tell you and sharing everything and like navigating everything. So let's just start in the beginning, I say. Today, this episode, I want to focus on how my thesis defense went and what that means. And the rest I'll cover in future episodes. I still have not recorded the Harry Styles episode. Just a lot of stuff are happening. Big moves, big moves, she said. So, guys, last week, if you did not listen to last week's episode, well, I was going to defend my master's thesis. And after that, I was to conclude my education. And yeah, just like very big transitionary period for me because just listened to last week's episode. I was really going through it. I feel much better now, but I feel like that's because I'm just struggling to comprehend that it's over. And I feel like it will only hit me in September when I don't have to go to class anymore. But let's take it step by step. Jesus, I really wanted to record an episode the day of the defense, but my emotions were so heightened to the point that I was like, I don't even know how to navigate them. Everything is so weird that I'm not even feeling it now. I just felt so dissociated from everything. And then the day after happened, and I was just like very busy. And then I was busy, and I was busy, and I was busy, and I was busy. So, my worry about today's episode when I tell this story is that I may struggle to convey the strength of the emotions that I experienced. But even though I may sound quite neutral when saying this, just so you know, it was very emotionally heightened and emotionally charged. So basically, last Wednesday, I defended my thesis. Like I told you in last week's episode, I practiced quite a bit. I practiced example questions, I practiced the script, I practiced my PowerPoint and stuff. Like I was ready. And the thing is, it's I don't know if you've never studied in the Netherlands, you may not know this, but in Dutch universities, things tend to be quite less formal than I would say they are in Bulgarian universities, even though I've never studied in a Bulgarian university, but just comparing to what my friends have been telling me. In terms of the hierarchy here, is a little less pronounced, and you tell your like you call your teachers by their first name, even though in the faculty of arts where I did my bachelor, this was even less, and I genuinely felt like I was talking to peers and friends, whereas in the faculty of economics and business I've felt a little bit more of a hierarchy, which is not necessarily something I'm against, because like I respect those people. They've studied way more than me. They're the ones giving me the knowledge. So it feels weird to call like my teacher by their first name instead of doctor whoever, because you earned that title, and I feel like I deserve to respect you by calling you by your title, you know? Um but the reason I'm saying this is because the defense ended up being way less formal than I anticipated it to be. I feel like I just prepared myself for the worst, and I prepared myself for being grilled to the point that when I went there, it genuinely felt like a really nice conversation between peers. I felt like they treated me with respect, and they treated me like a leveled individual, like a leveled mind. And I really, really respected that. But let's just take a step back. So the day of my defense was at noon. It was one of the hottest days of the year as of yet. 2 days later, it was the hottest day in the Netherlands, in the history of the Netherlands. And that one was difficult to live through. But let's focus on Wednesday now. So, Wednesday, my defense. I wanted, even though it wasn't a necessarily formal occasion, I still wanted to commemorate it by dressing up. I also felt like me dressing up would give me an extra boost of confidence that I might need when I'm sitting there and, well, standing there and presenting. So I dressed in this full length leather skirt, black leather skirt, full leather, don't worry, and a white shirt. And the reason I did this color combination is because I'm a very sentimental person, as if you've listened to any episodes, you might notice. I'm a very sentimental person. I love symbols and stuff. And in Bulgaria, during your first day of school, you always wear a white shirt and black pants or a black skirt. And I just found it quite a full circle moment that I just wanted to commemorate it by recreating an outfit that I wore during my very first school day back 17 years ago, to wear that on my very last day of university. And actually, this is something I've been doing. Doesn't matter the year, doesn't matter if I'm at a university or in high school or whatever. I only did not wear white and black once. I went in shorts, which in Bulgarian schools back in the day, I don't know how it's now, but that was perceived quite disrespectful. So yeah, that was just not the vibe. But anyway, so every single year here, even though I'm no longer in the Bulgarian education system, I still, on my first day of school, wear a white shirt and a black pair of pants or a black skirt, because I'm like, it's okay, like it's cute. I think it's just so sweet, and now I can just position and make a collage of all the pictures I have throughout the years, and you can see me in my white shirt and black skirt. I think that's very, very cute. And then another thing that we do is, because I've mentioned multiple superstitions throughout the 2 years of Dirty Martini that Bulgarians have. And one of them is, when you are going somewhere, be it on your first day of school or you're going on a trip, a thing we do is, when you walk out of the door, you're supposed to step out of the from the threshold with the right leg. You're not supposed to come back, because otherwise things are not going to go and well when you're just throwing away your luck. So make sure to bring everything you need so that you don't come back. And then you just pour water um outside the threshold of the door for you to walk over, be it on the stairs or just on the pavement. And this is something I've been doing every single first day of school, but also now I did it for the thesis. So I got dressed up, I just did my outfit, and I poured a bit of water. I walked out with my right foot, and I was good to go. And the thing is, I was like, I want to go to university by foot, even though it's quite far away, especially in this heat, because I just knew I wanted to wear off the adrenaline. And I went there way earlier than I was supposed to, which could have really backfired because at times I have this that I go early and then I just end up stressing myself out, which is why I, for exams, go only 15 minutes earlier instead of half an hour or 40 minutes like I did in the first year, because I was just sitting there in my anxiety, and I wanted to prevent this for the thesis defense. So, but still, I went there early, and the when I got there, I was, by the way, dripping with sweat. I was it was like as if I had taken a shower, and all this like formality that I put into my outfit ended up being quite in vain because I was dripping. But that's okay. That's okay. And then I go there, I go to the hall of the classroom where we were supposed to defend our thesis with my thesis group members. And I was the one to go second. And like I mentioned last week in the last week's episode, I was fine with going second because going first would have really freaked me out. But going last would have really made me sit in my anxiety the whole day. So I was quite happy with second. And I go there, and the girl who was before me, she had walked out already because you go inside, you have 15 minutes to present, then they have 30 to 35 minutes to ask you questions, then you step outside of the room, they discuss your grade, and they call you inside to let you know what your result is. And she was waiting outside for her result, and I could tell that she was quite nervous, but overall it went well, which was quite reassuring. And she was like, they're very kind, they're not asking questions to trick you or to fail you, they're actually asking questions out of interest and for you to elaborate or for you to explain. And she just told me they just asked for a different mediator or a different moderator. And I was like, okay. And think. And the thing is, I had a list in my head, and I was like, what is something I could say? What is something I could say? So I go inside, like she goes inside, then they give her her grade, and then they call me. And I go inside, and boyfriend, I'm scared. I was really nervous because also my supervisor and my second supervisor are teachers that I really respect and teachers that I wanted to impress. And I just wanted to do well because both of them, my topic is cancel culture. I am going to tell you about my thesis, and we'll do the cancel culture episode soon. I promise. I know I've been edging you for 2 years, but I promise it's coming soon because I also devoted my thesis to it. So I feel like it's going to be interesting to talk about it. Um, and it's just like a very consumer psychology type of topic. And both of my supervisors are psychologists. So this could either be really good because they could ask me great questions and they could be very leveled with me, or this could really backfire because they understand the ins and outs of the human brain way better than I do. And they could be like, well, have you actually thought about this? And just dig me into the ground. So I started presenting, and I had 15 minutes. And the thing is, I had worked on my, every single time I presented, I timed myself, and I never went over 15 minutes. I did 14, 13, 12, 11, depending on how fast I was talking, because as you may have noticed, I'm a fast talker. And I was like, you know what? Take your time, breathe, and I was presenting, and I was like, can you just give me like a sign or indicate to me in any way if I am running out of time? Because if you do run out of time, they're not going to give you the extra time to finish your defense. They're just going to cut you off, and this is obviously going to affect your result. So I start talking and I ease myself into it, and I really, really start enjoying the whole process. I start enjoying my topic. My second supervisor was nodding. He was like, mm-hmm, okay, yeah, I see that. Okay, okay. Just very active listening. And that made me feel really appreciated in that moment and really listened to. And it's like, wait, they are engaging with me. They're not just there to like complete a to-do list and write stuff off. So I just started easing into it. I was making jokes, I was doing this, I was doing that. And then I just hear, and I have like a slide and a little bit left, which is my concluding slide, in which I list my limitations and then I say a conclusion. And um that is quite a bit of things that I had to say. I had like a minute and a half there, and then my supervisor just says, you have 1 minute left. And as I was talking very smoothly and just enjoying it and just having a nice conversation without worrying, without anxiety, the second I heard you have a minute left, I was like, okay. And my voice started shaking. And I was like, okay, think on your feet. How can you cut this? And I did adjust the sentences as I was going, even though I had written a script. The thing is, when I write scripts for presentations, I do it more as a backbone. I do it more to structure things in my head. I don't memorize the script by heart, because I think this can really backfire. Because if you memorize it by heart and you just say it comma by comma, letter by letter, if you forget one letter, that's it. You're done. You're done. Like your whole pace is out the window, and you just sometimes need a single word to unlock the rest of it. But if you don't remember that word, you're screwed. So what I do is, like, I write scripts, but then every single time I present, I just go based off of that script, but I always say it differently. And this has really helped me be way more prepared. And I also, when I present, I don't like reading. I don't like reading from a phone. I think this is so like unprofessional, but I also don't like reading from a piece of paper. And I think like 15 minutes is enough for me. Like, it's short enough for me to memorize the stuff that I had to say. I think also what really helped me is Dirty Martini, because here I do, sure, I'm in my room alone. But when I look at my camera right now, I imagine you guys there. So I just, in a sense, in a way, do public speaking every week. Um, Sometimes I'm prepared, sometimes on academic topics, sometimes on non academic topics, mainly on non academic topics. And I feel like this has really helped me with public speaking, in terms of I know how to make sentences work, even though they may not be the ones I originally planned to say. And I know how, if I lose track of my story, I can go back. And this was really, really helpful. So basically, I just adjusted my, when she told me I have a minute left, I adjusted it a little bit and then I finished it off. And I just could tell that they were quite happy with the presentation and stuff. I also was quite happy with how the presentation went. I enjoyed the I enjoyed giving that presentation. I don't know if it was because I was very well prepared, because I'm interested in the topic, or just, I don't know, like maybe a constellation of things that happened. And then they started with their questions. Now, not to toot my own horn, but I would say that some of the questions were a bit difficult, but not in a way, not intentionally difficult to make me fail. But I think that they were very justified questions, which none of the questions are questions that I had necessarily um practice with my example questions, because in my example questions I focused more on the academic side, Whereas their questions were a bit broader. Broader, but still went into specifics. I don't necessarily know how to explain it. Yeah. And so you know how I said I don't like holding my phone or a piece of paper? I did carry a clicker, and I think it was nice to have that clicker, not because, I mean, it did make it seem more professional, but I think also maybe this is something that people do when they carry the paper. It's not so much to remind them of the script, but more to do something with their hands. Because in moments like these, I mean, yes, I talk with my hands a lot, as we've seen. But in moments like these, it can be very difficult to know what to do with the extra energy in your body. So the clicker, shout out to my housemate for borrowing me her clicker. Um, the questions, like I mentioned, not necessarily easy. I would say they required quite extensive answers and required a lot of understanding of the material, which is very justified. I mean, I'm there to defend a master's thesis and I should know what I'm talking about. But because in my I'm not going to, well, let's just quickly walk you through so that you know what type of questions they asked. So, for example, my research focused on cancel culture, and specifically boycotting as a form of cancellation. And I explored whether intentionally or non intentionally performed transgressions, aka bad actions, bad words, or whatever, in my situation, theft, which wasn't ideal, but like this is something to talk about in the limitations of the research, how that affects, like, whether intentional or non-intentional actions are likely to elicit higher levels of boycotting action from fans, and whether that is affected by whether the fan perceives this transgression as a personal betrayal, or whether the fan engages in a psychological counter argumentation as to why they should not boycott the celebrity. I know it sounds a bit confusing like this. If you are interested, also, even if you're not interested, I will tell you about my thesis in a separate episode because I find it quite interesting. I mean, obviously, I find it interesting. I dedicated like 6 months to it. Well, 4. It doesn't matter. Well, 6, because I also started working on it and collecting literature way before we started writing the thesis, because I already knew I wanted to do something with cancel culture. And so I've been exploring the topic for a little bit. Even though it's just in this study, I've been researching the topic quite a bit to be able to construct my study. So, anyways, and one of the questions that they asked me, which I think is such a good question, is why would it be perceived as betrayal, and why would it be personal betrayal? And this requires quite a lot of um, theoretical groundwork, which thankfully I had done. And I just could see, as I was answering this question, my supervisor, my main supervisor, I could see her nodding. And I was like, you know what? I am on the right track and I am answering stellarly. I really don't mean to sound very cocky and stuff, but when I'm prepared, I'm prepared. And I know I can do well in academia. And so it was a really interesting back and forth with them. I didn't feel threatened by their questions. I didn't feel like they were out to get me. And to every single question, I had an answer, and they allowed me to elaborate on my answers because, like we've maybe all noticed, I am a yapper. I love talking. If you allow me to talk for years, I'll never shut up. So I'm really, really happy, and I honestly, it's not like I didn't want it to end, but I just was really into our conversation and it was so thought provoking to the point that I was like, I'm enjoying this. I don't mind it continuing even more. And they were like, you know what? Those are my questions. You can step outside. And the thing is, with the girl who was before me, like I told you, when I went there, I saw the girl who was before me and she was waiting for her grade. We waited outside for, I would say, 5 minutes. I think she had just gone out, which is, I would say, a pretty normal amount of time to discuss your performance, your slides, your justification of answers, your overall ability to defend your thesis. Because you will defend your thesis, but will your thesis defend you? That's another topic of conversation. But basically, I would say that this 5 minutes is quite a reasonable amount of time. And then they were like, yeah, you can wait outside and we'll call you. And I imagine room here, there is a table here. Like literally, I am not over exaggerating, 5 meters away from the door. And I walk out of the room and I just reach the table. I put my bag on there and I'm like, okay, I'll maybe drink some water. I don't even have the time to open but my bag. They just go out of the door and they're like, yeah, you can come inside. And I was like, this took like 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds. And this could either be really good or really bad. And the thing is, I felt really good about my performance. But still, I was like, why are they taking such a short amount of time? What's going on? What's going on? And I go inside, and at this point, I have already dissociated. I feel like I felt such a weight off my shoulders because it really went well. I could tell that it went well. I was happy with my performance. And at the end of the day, that's all that mattered. It did not matter what grade I got because I just could tell that I have passed. And even if I hadn't passed, I was proud of all the work I had put in and the way I presented my work. And I go inside and they just tell me, we are really happy with your performance, and that's why we have decided to give you a 9. Now, if you're not familiar with the Dutch grading system, grades go from 1 to 10, and in university, you need a 5.5 to pass. And the first thing they told me when I first moved here in my very first class is do not even think about getting higher than 8. Nobody ever gets higher than 8. 7 is the average grade here. 8 means you're doing excellently. And I just really struggled with this when I first moved here because in my Bulgarian counterpart of my education, I have been doing excellently. Our grading system goes from, well, technically you could get a 1 if they catch you cheating, sorry. But normally grades go from 2 to 6, 6 being the highest, which you cannot really convert from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest in the Netherlands. And it's really like they're quite harsh with the grading here. Which I know also, I know that saying that 2 to 6 is the grading system makes zero sense. I know. Don't ask me. I did not come up with it. But I just, when I came here, I had always been getting 5s or 6, which I wouldn't say is necessarily difficult to do in Bulgarian high school or middle school, as long as you just, do your homework and actually pay attention to class. But getting an 8 here or a higher grade is definitely hard. Even like when I speak to Dutch people, when I tell them my grades, and they're like, that is crazy. No one ever gets those types of grades. But which to me is crazy because, like, if those grades exist, you should give them. But it's just such a thing that no one here gets a 10. I've gotten 110 in my bachelor and 110 in my pre-master, and that's it, which does not happen. I swear to God, it just is like, it's very, very, it's like seeing, I don't know, like what's a meteor, a Halley's comet. Like it's so rare. And when they told me we give you a 9, I wanted to be like, are you sure? Are you guys out of your mind? And they just started explaining why they give me a 9, because this is really a high grade, especially for a master's thesis that I was doubting the entire time. And a 9 is an overall. It's not just for the defense or for the text, the text itself. It's a 9 grade overall, which I think is just, you know what? I am not going to undermine my work. I'm not going to undermine my intelligence, and I'm not going to undermine my effort and just dedication. I did that. I doubted it all the time. I really thought it would be a 7, and I had accepted this. And I think I talked with you a few weeks ago about cum laude and how it is basically the thesis that's going to be the defining aspect of whether you get whether I get cum laude or not. Because for me to qualify for cum laude, I need all my grades, final grades, to be 8, 7 or above, with a GPA of 8 or above, without it being rounded up, and my defense needs to be at least an 8. Now, this is for cum laude. Summa cum laude is from 9 and above. I did not have that ambition. I did get a few 9s in my master's, but also I don't necessarily care about grades. Like, the only reason I cared about a cum laude is because of what it symbolized in terms of me being the first person in my bloodline to get her master's. And I just really wanted it to be with a distinction, because I think what I did in itself, even if I didn't get a distinction, for my family, for where I come from, is a remarkable feat. But if I did it with a distinction, I am just, uh, I don't know. I know I don't want to let this academic criteria and academic hierarchy define me, but to me it just symbolizes something. And like I mentioned, I'm a person who is very symbolic and just very sentimental. So in terms of that, I don't care if I get a 9 or I get a 5, and that's a not passing grade. In terms of whether that grade is going to affect anything in my life in the grander scale, it's not going to. It was just for this symbolism of me being the first person to, from my family, from my immediate family, with a master's, but from my bloodline with a master's. And when they told me that, I really was in shock. I couldn't really comprehend what it means. To this day, I still cannot comprehend. It's been a week. I haven't really also thought about this, because it's like, it's whatever, it's done. Like, I felt happy, but I got full body chills because I was in shock. And I was like, I am graduating. This is really happening. And I feel like my efforts, even though I doubted them, and I really thought my text in it by itself was not really good, even though, like, when I submitted it, I was happy with it. But throughout the whole process, I was really, really doubting myself. And this is also what I did during my bachelor thesis. And for that, I also got over a 9. I got like a bit higher than 9. So I feel like I should really stop doubting myself, because I really apparently can do those stuff. And doubting myself is only causing me anxiety and stress that I do not need, and that is apparently unjustified. Like, sure, it's keeping me on my toes and it's keeping me persistent and consistent and determined, but at what cost? My mental health. Even though I know that without stress, I can still do those stuff and I can still perform on such a high level. Um, and what I was more happy about than getting the 9 was the comments that my second supervisor made, and then also my personal supervisor made. First and foremost, my actually let's start with my main supervisor. She, like I mentioned, is a psychologist, but she does not like specialize in psychology. Like, she studies consumer behavior, but she does not study consumer behavior in the realm which I explored. So for her, this was a completely new field. And when I selected cancel culture as my topic of choice, before we selected our supervisors, or we didn't select them, we gave preferences. I emailed her and I was like, hey, I know this is not something you research, but would it be something you're willing to accommodate under your supervision? And she was like, yeah, absolutely, that's okay. And the thing is, my group members from the thesis group did study topics that she suggested, and she also helped them with finding literature. She, because she doesn't specialize in this aspect of consumer behavior and consumer psychology in terms of fandom, obviously she could not help me as she's not familiar with the literature. And she just made it explicitly clear to say that, yes, I have helped you a little bit with the methodology, but this work is all you. You did all the effort. I did not provide you with a topic like I did with the others. I did not provide you with literature like I did with the others. This is all you, and you should be proud. And honestly, this is all me. I did it. I struggled so much with in terms of feedback and stuff, and I really did it myself. I managed, and I think this is because I would have really appreciated more feedback on the things I had written. But that would have been unfair for me to get extra feedback because it's just a different topic that she's not familiar with. So I just got the same amount of feedback as everyone else, obviously, like otherwise it would be not equitable. And just, I feel proud because knowing the amount of feedback I got, or like the type of feedback I got, and this is not to throw shade or anything, it's just, it was rather like, it was guidance, but to the point that you had to figure it out, which is fair because it is your master thesis. But I just remember submitting it and being like, you know what, this is my work. I did everything from top to bottom solely by myself. And whatever happens, I know that this is my result. And it's okay. And whatever I earn, I've earned it. And the fact that I got such a high distinction makes me feel proud exactly because I know I did it by myself. Exactly because I know I could have benefited from more support but did not have the chance to get it. Exactly because I know I didn't have navigation in terms of, or support in terms of literature. I had to do everything by myself. And I feel proud because of that. Then I got feedback from my second supervisor. And this is something that really boosted my ego because he said, have you taken my class? And I was like, yeah, I did. He's like, it's interesting that I don't remember you because I normally notice talent and you have talent. And you should really think about a PhD because talking with you is like talking to a colleague. It's like talking to a peer. And I really enjoyed our discussions. And I really like the way you think. And for me, such a compliment, such a remark is the biggest reward I could have received, especially from a teacher that I respect and teacher whose research I respect. And this was such a monumental thing to hear because I tend to doubt myself. I really do. And it was just nice to feel appreciated. I just want to be appreciated. And I felt appreciated. And the fact that he said I have a talent and I should really consider doing a PhD, and he was like, you need to do a research master, like you need to figure it out. And I really thought about it a little bit. And like, I think the only reason I thought about it more seriously than before, because I've told you, like, if I ever think about doing a PhD, slap me in the face. But I thought about it because I was like, this is someone who's been through this path. This is someone who works with PhD students. And the fact that he sees potential, he sees talent in me, is something I would say remarkable. And I felt really nice. I just felt this was the highest order of compliments. And I thought about doing a PhD. But the thing is, in order to be a better candidate for a PhD, I would have to do a research master. A research master is a master program that lasts 2 years, and like the name suggests, it focuses on doing research, how to construct research, how to conduct research, how to publish research, and basically it increases your chances of getting a PhD position, but it does not grant it. It's not a linear path, and especially nowadays, the budgets of universities are being severely cut to the point that PhD positions are being shrunk in terms of numbers. There's not a lot of spots, and they're just trying to make do with what they have, which is not a lot. Which I think is so incredibly disheartening, because I think education is the foundation of a progressive society, which I think then indicates of the type of society that this world is trying to nurture, so as not to be critically thinking, analytically thinking, and potentially questioning power. Because educated people ask questions, and sometimes governments do not want to answer questions. And it's just so sad to see education budgets be constrained, be limited, access to education become limited, as this is the fundament, like the foundation of a democratic society, and a society that, in my opinion, is way better than a society that just comprises of a herd of sheep that's just being dictated by government, like whatever. So it increases your chances of a PhD, but it does not guarantee it. And already for a single position of PhD, there's 400 candidates, and it's really, really difficult to get one. And those spots are only reserved for stellar, remarkable, exceptional, outstanding students who really are so passionate about academia. Because the thing is, doing a PhD, sure, sounds fun, sounds cool, sounds, yeah, sure, I would be able to say I'm a doctor or whatever. But I don't know if those are necessarily the right reasons to go into academia, especially because I don't know what I want to do with my life. If academia turns out to be the thing that I want to do with my life, of course, of course. But because I'm still really struggling trying to navigate this next chapter of who I am and who I want to be and what I want to do for money, um, it just, it can be precarious to do a PhD. And now let me explain why. Because doing a PhD means that you want to work in academia, you want to do research, which is an amazing thing. I think research is so important. It is what keeps our society moving forward. But if, let's say, I were to do a PhD and then I want to work for a company instead of a university, and a company that's creative in terms of branding and marketing, which is what I find myself passionate about, um, doing a PhD can actually be a detriment, because they can perceive me as overqualified, and to the point that they cannot cover what my salary, what my education suggests my salary should be, and this makes me unemployable. So I am unemployable with a bachelor, I'm unemployable with a master's, and I'm also unemployable with a PhD, which I think is just so fascinating and cool and exciting to navigate. But that's a problem for me from tomorrow. Not tomorrow, a few months from now, because I just need a few months to exist and rest and just figure stuff out. Um, and then I walked out, I thanked them. I was very taken aback by the kind words that they said about me. And then I called my family, I called friends, and I was like, I did it. I did it. And I fulfilled the mission with which I came to this country, and I fulfilled it brilliantly. And I am not going to undermine that. And then I went to the university store to buy a hoodie of the university because, yes, I had 5 years to do that and I didn't buy it. And I bought a hoodie and I just felt I felt a little bit out of place because I was like, wait, what do I do now? Because tomorrow I don't have to study. And I've been studying so much for the past, I don't know how many months, well, for the past 17 years. But from tomorrow, from now on, summer starts. But also, if I never want to, I never have to be in university again. I never have to study again. And I never have to do homework again. And that's just wild. I'm really struggling to navigate this gap hole that's there because it's like, wait, I have time now that I could spend doing hobbies or resting or just doing stuff that I enjoy. And this is great. And not that I don't enjoy studying, but I really was struggling so much to the point that I went to the library and I picked up a textbook because I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be studying. Like, I don't know what to do if I'm not studying. But I really feel like I stopped myself. I gifted it to my aunt. I was like, you know what? Take this because I feel like I deserve to distance myself from this field for a few months to clear my head. And so I went to the university store. I grabbed a hoodie, which was 50 euros. And because in the store I had to try on the hoodie and I had my glasses on, sweating, mind you, still very, very much. And I um, took off my glasses in the changing room and then I thought I put them on. I bought my hoodie and I went to the university's main building to take pictures. I saw two girls taking pictures and I was like, I can take pictures of you if you take pictures of me. And they took pictures of me. Then I went to a friend to tell her how it went because she helped me. She read my literature review. Babe, if you're listening to this, I wouldn't have been doing it without you and without your support. And thank you for letting me rant. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you. Thank you. Um, and I went to her place and then I went home because she was supposed to come over to my place, but I had to get ready and we were supposed to have a little picnic and stuff. And I go home and I'm like, wait, I cannot find my glasses for the life of me. And crazy concept, I need my glasses to see. And I call her and I'm like, hey, did I leave them at your place? And she's like, no, they're not here. I was like, oh shit, maybe I left them in the store when I was trying on the hoodie. And I called the store, but the store had already closed. I was like, it's okay, I'll just go tomorrow after work to pick them up. And I go on with my day. We go and have the picnic by a lake. We drink a bit of Aperol. We drink a little bit of hard iced tea. It was really nice. It was so nice to have such a nice evening with friends who I really love spending time with, and we just played a little game and we talked and we bonded, and it just felt so young and carefree and just beautiful. What a beautiful way to celebrate. And then I go home and I'm like, let me look through my pictures of today. And I'm like, wait, I think I might have left my glasses at the building of the university when I was taking pictures. Because I think I took them off because I didn't want to be with glasses in the pictures. And I go into my gallery, I check the pictures, I zoom in, and I see my glasses left by a column of the building. Midnight, mind you, already showered, already in bed. Immediately jump out, put on some random clothes that I got in two different socks, that are not of a pair, and I run. Does not matter if my knee hurts or not. I run. I catch a bus. From that bus, I turned on my Strava, of course. I did a sprint as if my life depended on it. And I get there and I do not see them. And I'm like, oh shit, well, maybe someone saw them and left them at the desk of the library or the university, of the information desk at the reception. And the library now, because it's exam season, works until midnight, but that was like 40 minutes after midnight, so I couldn't go in. And I just saw a few people there, and I was like, I'm recruiting you. Have you seen my glasses? Help me find my glasses. And this girl was like, do you really need them? And I'm like, well, I'm going to bed, not really now, but like tomorrow I'm going to need them. And she just reaches next to the column, grabs them, and gives them to me, and gives them to me. And she's like, yeah, I think I think you might really need them if you did not see them now, them being here where you left them, which is very fair. And then I ran home and I went to bed. I took my fourth shower of the day, and I went to bed and I had my glasses on, and that's all I cared about. And that was just such a nice scare, adrenaline rush to end the day off. And then do I go into it now or do I go into it in the next episode? I will go into this part now. The rest I'll talk about in a different episode. Then the 2 days after, I find out my exam grade from my last exam, and I am very proud to say that I'm officially graduating cum laude. And I had let go of the notion that this is happening to me. And it felt nice. It felt nice, but I found it out on my way to work. And it just felt so anticlimactic in terms of, well, I defended my thesis with such a high grade, and then the day after I was just like working in a fast food chain, wearing my ugly uniform and people being rude to me. And then the day after, I found out my last grade and I found out I'm graduating cum laude, and I'm still at work helping angry customers who are being mean to me wearing my ugly uniform. And it just like, I thought that like getting the cum laude, if I were to get the cum laude, would give me a nice ego boost and would really change stuff. It didn't. It so didn't. And I feel like just the juxtaposition between my success in academia and then just, and it's not that I'm ashamed of my job, it's just like, this is such a high achievement, such a big achievement, and then it just passes. Like, you check the grade, you see that you've graduated officially on a random Friday, and you've graduated with a distinction, and you still ask, like, do you want a large or a small? And it's like, it felt so sad, and I felt so irritated because I was like, I feel like I could do better in terms of professions, I would hope. Don't get me wrong, I'm not ashamed of it and it's paying my bills and I'm grateful to have this job. It's just like people keep telling you, people keep telling you like, oh, this is going to open so many doors for you, yada yada yada. And then when it happens, maybe sure down the line it will, but I didn't sense an immediate change, which, yeah, just felt very, very anticlimactic. But I was still proud. I was still happy. And then I went home and I was like, let's just go to bed. I'm exhausted. And I turn off my light and I go to close my laptop and no, to open my laptop to watch a series because I love watching a series before I go to bed. And I see that my screen is cracked. Thankfully, it happened right after I was done with the thesis, because imagine going through this with the thesis still being in the process of being created. Like, divine timing. Like everything was in pixels and lines. There was a quarter of it was burned, and that is because my cable I did not see. I had closed in between my keyboard and my screen, and I was very, very anxious. And the day after, when I was at work during my break, I went to this place where they fix laptops and phones. And I was like, hey, how much is this going to cost me? And they're like, because I checked online and people were saying, oh, it's going to be 80 to 100. And then they told me 170. And I went out of the store and I was like, yeah, let me think about it. And I went out of the store. I called my mom and I sobbed. And I mean, sobbed. And then I went to another store, like a few meters down the street. And I asked there, and they're like, well, we don't have the original one in stock. If you want an original one, it's going to be double the price. But the current one we have is going to cost $250. And I went back and I got it done for $170 with an original screen. And when I tell you that's the last thing I needed, that is the last thing I needed. Uh, but I just could not fix my laptop. Like technically, maybe I could have gone a month without my laptop if I forced myself to and like not used it and just gone completely analog. But I was also like, well, the podcast. I can't not do the podcast. And they told me if you use your laptop with the screen being like this, it could really further get damaged. And it could also, because it was just the screen, but they were like, it could potentially leak into the computer and damage the motherboard and stuff. And I was like, let's just get it over with. And today I had people come and do the wasps, and that's another 90 on top. Why is life so expensive? Like, but still, like, see, my landlords, if there's a problem, we immediately solve it. But the person came and he sprayed the nest, and I felt bad, like, for killing the wasps, but at the same time, this infestation could have really, really gone bad. And I thought he was going to just remove the nest and like place it somewhere else, but no, he poisoned it. And now it's for me to wait 2 hours, but he said just to be sure, wait 6 or 7. Don't you dare do the 6, 7 thing. Um, and then remove it. And I would hate to do that. But I guess that's just the life of a cum laude graduate. But I am really proud of myself. I'm happy with how things went. Now I'm struggling to navigate life after university, but that's a problem for future me and for future you to listen and enjoy. But until then, I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!